Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to build this fantasy-inspired home for your Minecraft world. Make sure to hang out for the entire video so I can give you exclusive building tips and a schematic for this build if you wish to build it yourself. Let's get going. The first thing we want to do is begin laying out the foundation of this project. It all starts with a symmetrical layout of stripped spruce pillars, swiftly followed by a wall of stone brick to fill the gaps. Notice that the stone is flush with the spruce logs. This is designed to maximize the interior space of the house so you have plenty of room to add any sorts of features you desire. Once the base foundation is in place, we are adding these triangular support struts made out of our stone brick walls. Since we are widening the second level of the house, these will act as our simple support arches to give the impression that they're actually supporting the weight of this building. And here we are adding a cute little kitchen bay to make sure that we can really give this build a little bit of differentiation with some open trap doors to represent window shutters that are open to let the cool breeze in. Now we're on to the fun stuff. We start once again by adding our stripped spruce around the perimeter, and notice how the logs are placed one block further from our first floor perimeter. This will not only help create more space for the interior later, but additionally it provides that distinct fantasy look where the build starts off skinny at the bottom and progressively gets wider as the building gets taller. After that, we move back down to the first floor of this house where we clear out the grass, which is staying there rent-free, and invite our lovely spruce wood planks in to live, to provide that super awesome hardwood interior floor that everyone loves. And since we love the first floor so much, why not do the same for the second floor? I mean, come on, it looks so good. That wasn't very professional. Let us put our attention now to the rest of the logging structure, as this will help us define our roofing setup, and will give us an easy guide to follow when building the rest of the house. Notice the sharp angle that we are creating with the logs. This is our base shape for the peak of our roof, which the angle starts off fairly shallow and progressively becomes a more aggressive point at the top. And whenever I build like this, it really makes me think of those Nordic houses or those Swedish houses that you see on the mountaintops in the Bernese Alps, and it's just a really, really beautiful type of build, and I'm personally very biased towards them. Now I'm just getting a little extra bit of the logging setup in to give the house a little bit more visual support. And now, on the other perpendicular side of our large peaked roof, we are adding a smaller yet aggressively sharpened peak on both sides. And the purpose of this is to give the roof a little bit more character, as one giant roof that's just shaped like an A may look a little bland from some angles. So this is just used to break up the build. Here around the back of the house, you can see that we are replicating our little base structure that we started on the front of the house, which adds a nice little addition to our symmetry-focused build that we've got going on. Now we are starting to touch our roofing on the bay, and you'll notice that the stone brick trim helps distinguish the cyan colors that our warped stairs give off. And briefly, I want to point out that little farmer's peak that just hangs out with an additional window to bring in some natural light. And since I was way too swift in the replay mod, we were going to move swiftly into our walls, which used a little more of an expensive material, which is stripped birch logs, say that 3 times fast. And now I'm just getting one of our large Colosseum-like windows set up, which we'll get a better view here in a second. The reason I wanted to use this expensive wall material, however, is due to the fact that it, again, contrasts the spruce extremely well. And that's something you really have to consider when you're doing a lot of these builds, is that you want to make sure that the colors pop and complement each other in an acceptable way. We're adding some blue stained glass to the windows, as well as adding some spruce fences to give the windows a little extra pop, a little extra structure so that it catches the eye and makes it more of an appealing sight. And now we're finishing up the other bay to replicate exactly what we did on the other side. And now we're going to zoom in, and we're going to see this little trap door with some spruce wooden stairs set up, and this to act as a little entryway. We can open up the trap doors and let a little light in. We want to do the same thing to the other side and fill in our entire A-frame with our stripped birch logs. Again, that's a hard thing to say. But moving along from that, we're going to now place in our stripped spruce logs, again going along perpendicular to our roofing setup to give the build a little more structure. And now it's time to smooth out the build a little more. So we're going to take our stone bricks and we're going to create a trim that follows the guide of our logging setup that we made for our A-frame roof. And this is going to give, again, a little more distinguished look like we did on the bays below. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, grab your warp stairs because we're going to be filling in the first side of our roof. And you're going to notice right off the bat that we're not filling the whole thing in from one side to the other. We're leaving a small little gap. And that gap is going to be for the roofing setup that's going to go on our smaller peaked roof that has our Coliseum window. And that's going to be perpendicular to the roof that we have right here. And I'll explain a little more in a second. So once again, we're doing our stone brick trim. That's the first thing. Get the general shape in line. And now we're going to fill it in. And yes, have this little 90-degree angle that just juts out of our roof. And you're going to notice that one little spruce plank right there. Well, that's to help give me a little personal guide to add this cute little wooden plank trim. And that's supposed to act as the roofing, the peak of this house. And if you guys want to build this for yourself in your own world, well, go down into the description of the video and you'll find a link that takes you to a Google Drive of this exact schematic that you can upload into your Minecraft Java world. And make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any of these future builds that I'm going to be doing, so you can stay right up to speed with the rest of us. Okay, Chief, enough of the shameless self-plugs. Let's get right back into the build. Now, if you look above on the main roof, we actually did the same thing that we did on the smaller peaks with our little spruce setup with the little fences. And once you finish up the roofing here, you've basically got the crisp and clean structure. However, we need to do a little more work to really make this build official. So let's head right back down to the beginning and start with adding our details. And so you can see here, I'm tossing in a little bit of mossy stone brick variations to help give this build a little more vegetation. And so you'll notice that additionally, I'm tossing in some stone brick stairs. I'm also throwing in on the corners here some stone brick walls as well as some cobblestone variations. And that Minecraft has a tendency to really have some harsh edges, which, don't get me wrong, it has its place in builds. But in this specific build, I wanted to give a smoother appearance. And so I wanted to add the walls to add a little extra soft edge to the sides of the building. Additionally, we're also varying up the support struts by giving some mossy walls or some cobblestone walls to again make this build feel like it belongs in sort of a swampy or a heavily forested area. And let's also ignore the fact that I totally missed placing stone bricks right there when I was doing the build. Got too ahead of myself. Now, once we finish up with the stone brick and adding in our mossy variations, let's swing to the back of the house and let's start adding in some trapdoors. I don't really have any method to my madness. I want to use the trapdoors to create a little extra roughness around the edges so everything wasn't so smooth and vanilla. Now let's swing our tushies right to the back of the house once again and head up a little higher. You're going to see me placing down some upside down purple blocks followed by some extra trapdoors and then some wither roses and allumiums, I think they're called. Not really sure. And the reason I want to do this is just a little neck edge. It just looks, it looks great. I got nothing more to say. It just looks great. That's basically it. And once we stop ogling over our little flower pots, we're going to add the soul lanterns around the perimeter of our house. And then we're going to also start roughing up the edges of our roof, because I want to make this sort of seem as if the warped blocks are actually shingles and that the spruce is underneath acting as the real main beef and insulatory portion of the roof. So by adding in the little spruce poking out in different areas, it kind of gives the impression that some of the shingles have fallen off due to weather decay or due to other natural principles that may have affected this build. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this beautiful fantasy house build that you just created inside your Minecraft world. I want to thank you all for making it this far in the video, and make sure to go down into the description and go to the Google Drive link so you can download the schematic for this build if you haven't already. And make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you can be notified when another great build goes live, so you can be there and be one of the first.